Jennifer Ackad. Jennifer is a friend and a colleague of mine, and we've known each other for a few years now. Jennifer is an embodied embodiment and transformational coach, and now an international best-selling co-author. Jennifer left successful mechanical engineering company in 2010 to follow her soul calling. And for more than 9 years, she immersed herself thoroughly in yoga therapy and other healing schools, deep diving into her own body and self-awareness to rediscover that she now calls home within. She has mastered the art of listening within and unleashing unstuck energy and alchemizing it into higher frequencies to redirect it into purpose. Jennifer, it's so awesome to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Carrie. It's really awesome to be here.
Yeah, and we're going to talk today about embodiment and being unapologetically you. Does that sound good, everybody?
Yay.
Yeah. So Jennifer, what does it mean to be unapologetically you?
All right. Well, from my perspective, it's really this deep love, deep self-respect, deep connection to oneself, and being authentic, meaning we are connected with the truth of what's happening every moment inside of our own bodies, being present. And what I found, to link this to the subject of motherhood is that it put me in the shoes of somebody who was always, or most of the time, aware of what was happening in my inner world. Therefore, I was not projecting on my kids or reacting on my kids. And of course, when it happens, then I had to take a step back and just dive deep inside to just kind of dismantle what had just happened, without being perfect, obviously, but just to be aware. So for me to be unapologetically authentic and to be embodied is to just really tap into who we are and to accept and love ourselves, so that our kids learn that they are 100% lovable and that they are allowed to be who they are also, that their desires are valid, that their dreams are valid, that their design is valid. So yeah, in a summary, that's what I mean,
Okay. So what I'm hearing is like truly getting to know yourself, really being connected to who you are, so that you can be more connected to your children, your environment, and making that like a way of living, so that you're not projecting your anger or fear or, really, I guess your fear onto other people.
Yes, exactly. It's being present. I heard you speak about the flow, so it's being in the flow. And yes, it's definitely just not projecting on our kids and offering them the space. Word space is a key word for me. Offering them the space to unfold organically, to develop organically, and to realize when I'm making decisions for them based on, my filters and my limitations, or I'm actually giving them space to grow in who they are. And then I deal with it and we grow like this.
Yeah. What does that look like in real time? Could you lead us through, I'm feeling into, because this is where I used to be as a mom, and sometimes I get that place where like there's so much happening and you're emotionally triggered, and there's so much happening in the world right now. There's lots of decisions that moms need to make or have to make, and kids have these personalities and they're in their own space. Like when there's chaos and we do get off balance, we do start to lash out, we do start to have those moments where we're projecting. What's something that moms can do in the moment to stop that negative, toxic spin
loop?
The loop of like, I've got to control everything. My kids are bad. My husband's a jerk. Like my life is awful. Like what would you recommend for that?
Yes. Really the keyword is awareness and observing. So catching ourselves. So obviously sometimes we're going to lose it, right? But it's like, oh, wait a minute. Here, I'm catching myself doing this. So then it's a pause. It's like, oh, I'm stopping right now. being communicative, telling my kid, I have an almost 10-year-old, so telling him, hey, like, I need to take a step back. I cannot continue this conversation. We cannot make a decision now. Same with his dad, my ex-husband, with whom I was able to build a harmonious relationship based on the principles that I'm sharing right now, which is every time we were entering a conflict and that it was not harmonizing with love or more peace or, let's say higher frequencies, I was stopping. When I was catching myself, obviously, because sometimes I was just becoming unconscious and the rage or whatever conflict was happening was totally getting me. But the second I was realizing that I was co-creating in a direction that was just going to manifest more and more shit, sorry to say it like this, then I was stopping and I was withdrawing and telling them, listen, I need to just take a pause. And then I was just activating myself, shifting my frequency, putting my attention on what I wanted to create rather than the chaos it was creating. And yes, we are in times of chaos. So there's a huge collective that perpetuates chaos. So this tool also helps me. What am I giving power to? Which thoughts, which paradigm, which agenda? So this supports me a lot. And it's heavy in the air. We cannot neglect this. There's a lot of negative thoughts in the air and heavy thoughts that don't necessarily want us to be in higher frequencies. So I have some easy tricks, like being in nature, for example, or I have some portals, a tree. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's heavy. I just connect to the tree. It seems woo maybe, but there's a frequency, there's an energy that is close to peace for me. So if I weave my energy field with that, then right away it realigns me, and then I can be centered, present, grounded, and then I reapproach the situation through the lenses of that ground. And I insist on ground because without the ground, honestly, it would have been a lot more difficult.
That's really profound. So what you're talking about is really, really important, I think. And I'm feeling into a lot of this too, of this, the environment that you're in and what you're surrounding yourself with and what your habits are. Having a toolkit, being able to alchemize fear, really being able to be, your power is in like, if this isn't going in the direction that I want it to go, like stop, come back home to self. Like, what is it that you really want to create from out of this situation? We can choose to create from fear, which is gonna create a shitstorm, or we can choose to create from truth and abundance and really truly create what we desire, which is what we're talking about. Like, how do you really get what you want?
Exactly.
Yeah. And environment is really big. I remember when I first started to dive down the manifestation trail and life by design and create what you want, like, I realized that I really didn't want the environment that I was in. I didn't want the marriage. I didn't want I didn't want to work in a school system anymore. I didn't want to live in the house that I wanted to live in. And, for someone who's like in the spaces of like, well, I know everything that I don't want right now. Like, what, because I know you're super powerful, Jennifer, like, what do you do when you know that you're like, you know that this isn't what I want. I don't want to create this. Like, what comes after that? How do you materialize like what you do want into your life?
It's your question is touching me, and I don't know if I'm picking up on something that's being touched in the collective that's watching this right now, but I'm feeling touched in my heart, and even some tears would want to come out. So it's a profound subject. It's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
it's I call it your authentic playground. Creating your authentic playground. It's actually one of the steps of my programs called like this, and it's all about assessing our lives, what is aligned and what is not aligned tangibly. So my attention is on what I want to create, and at one point my actual ground starts shaking, meaning it starts losing its taste, exactly like what you shared. It's like, oh, my environment is not okay, my partnership is not okay. Your body tells you this. It's not something that the mind says. It's not based on the mind. It's not the mental. It's the body at one point just literally wakes up. If we touch deep in the body, it actually roars. it's like enough. And it's like, enough, right? So when I have this hint from my body, I know that this is the energy required for change. So I tap into that energy required for change. And then I ask my body what needs to change, what is not in alignment. And then there's a bow. The bow comes with the humility to realize that I have to die.
Yes.
Yeah?
Some part of you is ready to go. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have shivers as I say this, right? So it's a part of my identity needs to die for me to become somebody else who will welcome this new manifestation. So then I assess my life, this house, this partnership, this friendship, the way I'm mothering, the way I'm speaking to my ex-husband, my choice of services or clients, the income I'm making or not making, all of it. It's kind of an assessment with just so much transparency, vulnerability, authenticity. And I start allowing this raw power to do the work. So as much as I'm not in control, it's just I get a true and clear picture of what's happening and what needs to change. And then I allow this power, this energy to, take the swords and like, okay, let's do the work. And it's fun, it's full of life force. And then the flow begins, but this is where most people quit. It is, right?
It doesn't look good. You don't see it. It doesn't feel good to transform and transcend and to really, what Jennifer's talking about is like clearing the space for the new to come in. And if we allow ourselves to, like, I call it like giving up a part of ourselves or giving up a relationship or giving up even a life. A lot of us, I mean, I've been asked to give up a life, my former life and my now life. And that's not pretty, but it is absolutely necessary. And if you keep going, I watched a movie which was like, keep going and you will find love. Keep going and you will find it. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep moving through it. And you will find it. You will find the master key, I guess it is, to unlocking your life.
Yes, and as much as it's difficult and can be chaotic, those transition moments, what's the cost of staying stagnant?
Same. It's the same. You're going to be doing the same thing. You're
exactly.
Going to be feeling the same uncomfortability, but you're not going to get what's on the other side of that transformation.
The jewels and the gifts. No, and life wants us to grow. And I insist on growing in our gifts and our potential. So when we have those calls from life, it's because it just wants to clear us to be more embodied in who we are, to serve more, to offer ourselves more as a partner, as a mother, as a community holder, whatever, I insist so much because sometimes I didn't make the choice of following this life force before or whenever it happened. Sometimes that I was just too freaked out. There were just too much of big changes. And I paid the price big time. It entered me in huge depression, in being physically sick, and tons and tons of stuff. So I have learned along the way that, yes, it requires courage and breaking a lot of fears to make that leap into the new playground. But the cost of not doing it is way worse than having to go through the discomfort of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what's in the playground.
What's in the playground? Well, play, right? Playground. So I love seeing it as a new ground being built. The ground first being in the body, the pelvis, the legs. Who am I becoming? Who am I to be embodied in? That's the ground. Then the play is all this life energy. It's like, what does it look like? It really depends on everybody, right? Because for me, it's not going to look like you. I have physical signs of what it's going to look like. Like literally my sacrum pushes me. I work as an embodiment coach, so my language is a lot around the body, right? But I'm going to give an example. At one point, let's say my son was in first grade, half first grade, and I really had this huge calling that I needed to take him out of school and homeschool him. And I had the feeling the calling was there for a few years, but I was not ready. I was not embodied in that. And at one point, this push came, and it's like, now. And that really, then my mind started negotiating. I was like, really? Oh my gosh, like all of this responsibility and blah, blah, blah. But then I did it. And what happened is I reclaimed power. I understood why life was pushing me there. And now I understand even more with everything that we have gone through in the last years, so many families being asked to homeschool. I understand why, let's say 5-6 years ago, I was asked to start homeschooling my son. I was like, wow, life was actually preparing me. So more trust. So the new playground builds trust and confidence. It brings more power, more of the confidence of who we are as an embodied mother. And really, it makes our kids trust us more because we take aligned actions that are aligned with truth, with truth and with nature. And kids, when they are born, they are so connected, then they crystallize on something that's not necessarily true, but they are way more in tune than us, way more in tune than us. So the new playground is different for everybody, but it's about your truth and your authentic answers and paying attention and and going for it. I hope this makes sense. Huh?
And it really is fun in those spaces when you see that, like, taking that leap of faith, which, homeschool your son, like, all the fear comes up, but like, you notice it, you witness it, check back in. Okay, is this real? Is this true? Yes. Okay, where are my steps? What is necessary? What is being asked of me? And then follow through with it. The empowerment that you get on the other side of it, because you trusted that instinct. I woke up 2 weeks ago because I share custody of my children, and they spend time with their dad, and he wants to vaccinate them. And this is kind of just like a personal thing, but like, I woke up in the middle of the night in sheer terror that, I thought that my youngest two were going to get vaccinated, and I was in like panic. But really what that was like, okay, come on, I'm urging you, like, step up now. That was my soul being like, step up now. And I had all the information about, letters of consent and all that, and directions of everything that I needed to take. And I was so afraid to take it, but I did, like I drafted the letter. And in fact, this was crazy. The letter that I had downloaded was already on Adobe for me. I didn't put it on Adobe. It was already, like, when I opened up my computer, it was right in front of me. Talk about alignment. Sent the letter. And it was even scary to do that. But like, I know that because there was this feeling of like the patter of my heart, of like the anxiety around it, that it was the breakthrough, it was aligned, and the information was already there, and it got sent, and that's power. That's power. And that's what we really need to be tapping into right now, is making those aligned decisions, and even moving, like, where are we being asked to move to? What are we being asked to do? What are we being asked to create? And trusting that instinct.
Yes, I was in the city all my life, and I moved to nature now, and I'm going to Costa Rica for winters because I'm receiving those callings to be surrounded by nature and to be surrounded by more community, and it's all calling based. And my son flourishes in those environments. So I really I witness how he flourishes, how his essence grows, is his essence, how does it shine through his body, again, without perfection, right? It's just really being aware of what's happening. And when he's in his life force, then it's, for me, it's the best gift, because as we are connected to our life force, we just are not as controllable, right? And we are empowered, and we can discern what is true or not for us. We can choose paradigms in which we want to create or not. It's the choices in our hands.
We have the power to be able to choose. And
totally.
This is a choice. Like, when we are in our life force, when we are in our flow, when we are in our divine design, it's a form of leadership that it's an energy, but it's like the ultimate form of leadership for our kids. Because I don't know about you, but it took me a very long time to understand that I actually had a choice outside of what my parents had chose, and kind of like the four-walled life that I was living in. And I think our children are going to have a much, not, I wouldn't say easier, because I don't think my kids are going to have it easy, but like they're so much more awake than we are. They're really tuned in to what they know is right and wrong instinctively.
Yeah, and when we give them space and we allow them to take the swords, they're like, check, this is not true.
Yeah.
Right? Like I pay attention a lot to this, the mirrors of the kids around my son or his friends when they're over. I really give a lot of space because I learn so much from what they're tapping into and their flow and their rawness and everything. For me, it's very important to give that space to the children because the more they're connected to their truth, then again, it's empowerment. If whether they go to school or not to school, it doesn't matter. Then they can feel when something is in alignment with them or not. And then they are empowered, even if they are in a system that is not appropriate for them punctually. They have the power to choose because their inner radar works. They can feel and they validate for themselves, well, this is true and this is not.
Yeah, discernment. It's beautiful.
It's discernment.
Yep.
Yes, totally.
Beautiful. Well, Jennifer, we're coming to the top of, I'm just looking at the time.
Well,
the top of our conversation. And I know that you have a free gift link for the people who are watching and people who are going to be in the replay. And if you're watching the replay, it's going to be on the event page that you can click on. But would you like to talk about what the free gift is?
Yes, the free gift is called Discovering Home Within. It's 90 minutes embodiment practice. This practice has helped me through all pregnancy, all motherhood. I still practice this. It's been 12 years. It's my medicine. This is where I get the power from because I allow everything that's not true to melt on Mother Earth, to be grounded. And then I just reclaim the energy that's underneath the inner tension. So Discovering Home Within is our sacred temple, just putting your attention on inside, connecting to your truth. And then from that space, you go and you listen to the kids, you go and listen to your partners, and you're a lot more aware of what the needs are, what their truth is, where to guide them, where to lead them, and where to lead your life, mainly with the collective you're surrounded with. So it's a deep practice. It's actually an extract from my 6 months program. So it's usually a deep group. So go ahead and dive deep, ask questions if you have questions, but it's a beautiful tool to have.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Your embodiment is I can feel like the maternal mama, like the Pachi mama, like in you. And then I wanted to just connect in with also the connection that you have with earth and trees and grounding in, and really like, even I see it as being a cleansing energy through challenging times and how important it is.
Yes.
So
nature and connecting to our nature. And there's so much more I could share on this, but it's love, reconnecting to that birthright, which is love, our frequency. And as mothers, as women, I'm going to insist also on the womb space, just because it's so important that it is a portal of love where we carry our children. And from that space, we mother, we nurture, and we also find our creative power. So all of this, when we put our attention down in our roots and we weave it with Mother Earth, it just takes you. There's a current there.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you for bringing your medicine into this community, into this space, and so nurturing and grounding and true. And thank you so much for being here. And everybody, Ashley's going to drop the link for Jennifer's free gift.
I have it somewhere else so I can put it.
Yeah, we do have it. Okay. I'm just going to wait for Ashley. Ashley, there we go. Thank you. All right, you guys. Well, Jennifer.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the free. Okay.
Yeah, that's your gift link. So click on that, fill out your name and your email, and you will receive that.
Thank you for the conversation also. Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie. It's just really such a pleasure and an honor to speak into that subject, the motherhood. It really shifted my life when I became a mother, and so much to say around this, but thanks for having me. Thank you everybody for listening. Yeah.
You're so welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much.